It's easy to look back at history and see only shadows, only names etched in stone, but some stories refuse to fade. They whisper across centuries, carrying echoes of unwavering faith and unbelievable courage. We're talking about a time when the world was ruled by emperors and gods, where Christianity was not just a belief, but a dangerous secret, a life-threatening choice. Imagine a bustling Roman city, not unlike any metropolis today, but filled with the clang of blacksmiths, the scent of fresh bread, and the constant hum of life under imperial rule. This is the world of Crispin, a name that might not immediately ring a bell, but whose story is profoundly connected to themes of faith, craftsmanship, and the ultimate sacrifice. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on a forgotten hero, Saint Crispin, and uncover the incredible journey of a man who left an indelible mark on history, even when the odds were stacked against him. Get ready to explore a tale of devotion that will make you rethink what it means to stand firm in your beliefs. Our story begins in the 3rd century AD, a turbulent era for the Roman Empire, and an even more perilous one for early Christians. While details of his earliest life are scarce, we know Crispin was born into a Roman family, likely in a region we now know as Italy. He, along with his brother Crispinian, grew up in a society that valued tradition, civic duty, and the worship of pagan gods. For those who embraced the nascent Christian faith, life was a tightrope walk between personal conviction and societal conformity. These early Christians often met in secret, sharing meals and scriptures, building communities under the watchful, often hostile, eye of the Roman authorities. Crispin and Crispinian, however, chose a path that would set them apart. They didn't come from a noble lineage or possess great wealth. Instead, they were artisans, skilled shoemakers by trade. This wasn't just a job, it was a calling. In Roman society, crafts were essential, and a good shoemaker was a valued member of the community. They worked with leather, stitching and shaping footwear for everyone from the common citizen to perhaps even Roman soldiers. Their hands creating comfort and protection for feet that trod the very same Roman roads we marvel at today. This humble profession would become central to their legacy. As Christianity faced increasing persecution in their homeland, Crispin and Crispinian made a pivotal decision. They chose to leave the relative familiarity of Rome and journey north, far into the Roman province of Gaul, to a town called Augusta Suessinum, known today as Soissons, in modern-day France. Why travel so far? It wasn't just about escaping persecution, though that was certainly a factor. It was about spreading the word, about sharing the message of Christ with those who hadn't heard it. They were missionaries, not with grand pronouncements, but through their daily lives and quiet example. Imagine their arrival in Soissons, two strangers perhaps carrying their tools, looking for work. They set up shop, their workshop becoming a beacon in the community. By day, they were respected craftsmen, creating beautiful and durable shoes. By night, however, their true mission unfolded. They lived frugally, working long hours to support themselves, and often using their earnings to help the poor and needy. More importantly, they used their humble trade as a cover for their evangelism. As customers came and went, they would subtly share their faith, speaking of a different kind of love, a different kind of kingdom, one not built on earthly power but on spiritual truth. This was not an easy task. Roman Gaul was steeped in its own traditions and gods. Converting to Christianity meant risking everything. For a time, Crispin and Crispinian found a measure of peace in Soissons, their community of believers growing slowly but steadily. Yet the shadows of the Roman Empire were long and pervasive. Emperor Diocletian, a man determined to restore Rome's traditional values and bring order to a sprawling empire, launched one of the most brutal and widespread persecutions of Christians in history, beginning around 303 AD. Edicts were issued, demanding conformity to traditional Roman religious practices. Churches were destroyed, scriptures burned, and those who refused to recant their faith faced severe penalties, often death. This wasn't just a distant threat, it was a storm brewing on their doorstep. Crispin and Crispinian, now well-known figures in Soissons, could not hide their faith forever. Their refusal to worship the Roman gods, their quiet defiance of imperial decrees, would eventually draw unwanted attention. The problem wasn't just their personal belief. It was seen as an act of rebellion against the state, a challenge to the emperor's authority and the very fabric of Roman society. For the authorities, they weren't just religious dissidents, they were enemies of the empire. The inevitable arrived. Crispin and Crispinian were arrested under the orders of Maximian, one of Diocletian's co-emperors, or Rictius Varus, the local governor. They were accused of the gravest crime imaginable in Roman eyes, refusing to offer sacrifices to the pagan gods and encouraging others to do the same. This wasn't a trial by jury, it was an interrogation designed to break their will and force them to renounce Christ. They endured unimaginable suffering. Roman historical accounts and later Christian tradition describe various forms of torture. They were scourged, beaten, and subjected to agonizing methods designed to inflict maximum pain and public humiliation, all in an attempt to force them to abandon their Christian faith. Imagine being stretched on a rack, your limbs pulled to their breaking point, or having sharp objects thrust under your fingernails. They were reportedly thrown into a boiling cauldron, yet emerged unharmed, a miraculous event attributed to their divine protection. Their unwavering resolve in the face of such brutality must have been astonishing, even to their tormentors. They stood firm, their faith a shield against the pain, their eyes fixed on a spiritual kingdom far beyond the reach of any earthly emperor. Their quiet defiance, their refusal to betray their conscience, became a powerful testament to their belief. Despite every effort to break them, Crispin and Crispinian remained steadfast. They would not yield, they would not deny their Lord. Their courage, instead of discouraging others, seemed to inspire them. Seeing that no amount of torture could sway their conviction, the Roman authorities reached their final brutal decision. In a public spectacle designed to instill fear and deter other Christians, Crispin and Crispinian were beheaded. This act of martyrdom, likely around the year 303 or 304 AD, marked the end of their earthly lives but the beginning of an eternal legacy. Their sacrifice was not in vain. News of their unwavering faith spread, turning them into beacons of Christian fortitude. Their story, passed down through generations, inspired countless others to hold firm to their beliefs, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. The location of their burial became a sacred site, and eventually a grand basilica was built in Soissons in their honor. But their legacy extends far beyond a physical shrine. Saint Crispin and his brother Crispinian became the patron saints of shoemakers, leatherworkers, and all who work with their hands. This connection isn't just symbolic. It rooted their sanctity in the dignity of honest labor, in the idea that one could serve God through their daily work, no matter how humble. Their feast day, October 25th, is celebrated by guilds and churches, a day to remember their faith, their craft, and their courage. Centuries later, during the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, William Shakespeare immortalized the Crispin's Day speech in his play, Henry V, reminding us that even in war, the spirit of brave, ordinary people can inspire extraordinary feats. From a quiet workshop in Roman Gaul to the grand stages of English literature, Saint Crispin's story reminds us that true strength lies not in worldly power, but in the unshakable conviction of the human spirit. The story of Saint Crispin and Crispinian is more than just a historical account of two brothers. It's a timeless reminder of faith's power in the face of tyranny and the profound impact even the most humble individuals can have. They weren't kings or generals, but simple craftsmen whose devotion carved their names into the bedrock of Christian history. Their legacy, intertwined with the dignity of labor and the courage to stand firm, continues to resonate today, reminding us that every person, no matter their station, can embody extraordinary faith.